The day was slowly fading, the sky painted in shades of orange and gold as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Mark gripped the steering wheel of his old, dented car, the kind that rattled at every stoplight. He was exhausted, his body aching from double shifts and his mind weighed down by a mountain of worries. Being a single father was never easy, but lately, it felt almost unbearable. Rent was past due. The electricity bill sat unopened on the counter. And tomorrow, his little girl would head to school with the same worn-out backpack she'd been using for years. He sighed, glancing at the rearview mirror as if searching for answers in his own tired reflection. All he wanted was to give his daughter a better life, one where she didn't have to see the worry etched into her father's face. As Mark turned down a stretch of quiet road, his headlights caught sight of a car pulled off to the shoulder. A woman stood beside it, clearly struggling with a flat tire. She paced back and forth, fumbling with her phone, occasionally bending down to tug helplessly at the jack that wouldn't budge. Dozens of cars sped past her, their drivers barely glancing her way. Mark slowed instinctively. A voice inside him whispered, "You don't have time. Just keep driving." But another voice, the one shaped by the values he hoped to pass down to his daughter, spoke louder. "If that were her out there one day, wouldn't you pray someone would stop?" Without hesitation, he pulled over. The woman looked up in surprise as Mark approached, his work shirt still stained from the day. "Flat tire?" he asked with a gentle smile. She nodded, relief washing over her face. He crouched down, his hands steady despite the fatigue. Years of working odd jobs had left his palms rough, his fingers strong. One by one, he loosened the bolts, replaced the tire, and lowered the car back onto the ground. It didn't take long, but the gratitude in the woman's eyes made the moment feel far bigger than the task itself. She reached for her purse. "Please, let me pay you for your time." Mark shook his head firmly, brushing the dirt from his hands. "No need," he said softly. Then, with a faint smile, he added words that would linger long after this night, "Just take care of someone else when you can." He walked back to his car, never imagining that this small act of kindness, born from nothing more than compassion, would soon change his life in ways he couldn't yet dream of. That night, after helping the stranger on the roadside, Mark drove home in silence. The hum of the engine was the only sound as he replayed the day in his head. He had worked 2 jobs back to back, skipped dinner to save a few dollars, and still had no idea how he would cover the rent. But when he walked into the small apartment, everything softened. His daughter, Emily, was sitting at the kitchen table with crayons scattered around her. She looked up with a smile that could melt away the hardest of days. "Daddy, look. I drew us at the park," she said proudly, holding up a picture of 2 stick figures holding hands under a big, bright sun. Mark knelt beside her, kissed her forehead, and forced a smile. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." He tucked her into bed later that night, whispering the same promise he always made, "Daddy's going to make things better. I promise." But deep down, he wasn't sure how much longer he could keep that promise. A few days passed, and life carried on as usual. Long shifts, late nights, endless bills. Mark had almost forgotten about the woman with the flat tire. Until, one evening, there was a knock at his door. He hesitated, wondering who could possibly be visiting at this hour. When he opened it, he froze. Standing there was the same woman from the roadside, though this time she wasn't flustered or stranded. She was neatly dressed in a sharp business suit, holding a leather folder in her arms. "Hi," she said warmly, a smile spreading across her face. "I'm sorry to drop by unannounced, but I had to find you." Mark blinked, confused. "Find me? Why?" She took a breath, her eyes soft with sincerity. "That day, when you helped me change my tire, you didn't ask for anything. You wouldn't even take money. You just told me to pass the kindness on. I couldn't stop thinking about it. You see, I'm a hiring manager at a local company, and we've been looking for someone dependable. Watching you that day, your patience, your willingness to help. It told me everything I needed to know about your character." Mark's heart pounded. He wasn't used to good news showing up at his door. She handed him the folder. Inside was a job application and information about a steady position, something that could finally give him stability. "I want to offer you a chance," she said. "I believe you deserve it." Mark stood there speechless, emotions swirling inside him. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope breaking through the darkness. Mark could hardly believe what had just happened. For years, he had been clawing his way through life, barely keeping his head above water. And now, because of a single act of kindness, someone was offering him a chance to rebuild not only his career but his future. The following week, Mark put on the best clothes he had, pressed slacks and a shirt he hadn't worn in years. He walked nervously into the company's office, clutching the folder the woman had given him. The interview was simple, more of a conversation than anything else. They didn't just see his resume, they saw his determination, his reliability, his heart. By the end of the meeting, he was offered the job on the spot. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. The pay was enough to cover the rent, keep the lights on, and even allow him to buy Emily a brand new backpack for school. When he handed it to her that evening, she gasped in delight, hugging him tightly. "It's pink, Daddy. Just like I wanted." Tears filled his eyes as he realized this wasn't just about a backpack. It was about giving his daughter a piece of the childhood she deserved. Weeks turned into months, and Mark's life slowly began to change. The crushing weight of financial fear started to lift. He no longer had to skip meals to save money or wonder how he'd make rent each month. Emily laughed more, too, carefree in a way only children can be when they feel safe. But what stayed with Mark most was the lesson he'd unknowingly taught himself and his daughter, that kindness, no matter how small, has a way of coming full circle. One evening, as he tucked Emily into bed, she looked up at him with innocent curiosity. "Daddy, why did that lady give you a job?" Mark smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Because I helped her when she needed it. And sometimes, sweetheart, when you give kindness without expecting anything back, the world finds a way to give it back to you." Emily thought for a moment before whispering, "Then I'm going to be kind too." Mark kissed her forehead, his heart swelling with pride. In that moment, he knew that his struggles had shaped him, but kindness had saved him.